So I'm here with Grant Austin. Grant runs the social media here at the church and has done a lot of reading about the positives, negatives of social media and how they're influencing our society. Sarah is a youth pastor here, and Sarah has dealt a lot with teens and the impact that smartphone use and technology use is having on the younger generations. And so we've been having a lot of conversations lately about, well, we're all raising young kids and saying, hey, what do we want for our kids? What boundaries do we want to set up, and how do we want to train them and teach them? And so we were having so many of these good conversations. I felt like it would be great to just bring everybody in on the conversation and have them so that we can all have it together. Nobody is a total expert on it. It's a new enough reality that people are still learning and growing, and we're just in the process of learning. And so we wanted to bring you in on the learning process. So let's just start generally. Smartphones. They've been around for 15 years. Would we say that smartphones are a net positive or a net negative? There's some pluses and minuses, there's good and bad. What would we say about generally?
There is definitely positive with it. Our connectivity with people has never been greater. I mean, you can get on Facebook or Instagram and see classmates that you haven't seen for many, many years, or a relative or something like that. The connectivity is real, and I think it is useful.
Learning other cultures, meeting people around the world that you would have never been able to meet.
Yeah.
I think the net, maybe negative, is just the mental, emotional toll that our cell phones or smart technology can have on anybody, any age. I think it's not just Generation Z or the generation even before them. It's even generations like our grandparents, our parents, us, millennials, so are seeing effects of it. And so
and the negative effects are pretty glaring. So let's talk about a few of those. One of them would be just a communication breakdown. People's inability to communicate. We talk a lot about empathy.
Yeah,
right.
It's huge.
And about how if I'm communicating to you face to face, there's an empathy that happens. Mm-hmm. I say something negative, I see the look on your face, I recognize, oh, that was bad, pull back. Whereas with you, when you're communicating online, there's less of a filter, there's less of that empathy, that connection. And so the reality is it takes practice to learn how to communicate with people.
Right.
And social media, online talk does not provide that practice.
No. I think it's really, and also the opposite side of seeing positive reactions of people. That's all that can build you up also.
Yeah, and like even just group conversation, if you watch not only Gen Z but millennials and up, you see them in a circle talking and some of them are looking at their phones. That conversation never gets deep. Yeah. It's just, they have a very shallow conversation, because if one person's looking at their phone, they'll look back up and want to be caught up on what the conversation is. And so it's way easier to catch up someone on a shallow conversation than a soul, deep conversation. So.
You were talking yesterday about somebody who at one point was saying they wanted to be a teacher. And then he decided, no, I don't want to be a teacher. I want to be I want to be a
influencer.
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 As if a teacher's not an influencer.
Right. Yeah, it was, this kid had a dream of becoming a teacher, and then got a smartphone, got YouTube, got social media, started watching all these YouTube videos, and then decided, I can do that.
Yeah. Made
a video, got like 5,000 views, and then decided being a teacher is out because I'm an influencer already. And if I get enough subscribers, then I'm going to influence people. Well, parents weren't very happy about that. They're like, so teens are choosing a career path of being an online influencer rather than
a real influencers.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with having a popular YouTube channel.
Right.
Not at all. But it's not going to, number one, be your primary source of income throughout your life.
Yeah.
But also the amount of influence that you can have on somebody over a screen is just so much less than the amount of influence you can have interpersonally.
Yeah, I mean, with how the algorithms are built, when you like something, if you spend more time looking at a video or a post, it knows you're pausing on that. And so it'll say, okay, that person likes that kind of content, so it's going to find more influencers and fill your feed with those influencers, so you're only seeing one side, and those influencers are only telling you things that you want to hear.
Yeah.
You're not hearing other sides. You're not being able to craft your own beliefs.
You're in an agreement loop where you're just hearing things you agree with. Everybody's tickling your ears the right way.
Yep.
And you feel like, okay, you feel like you're being influenced. No, there's no influence happening.
And really, you're going to have more influence in your life with face-to-face conversations.
Right.
With you, with your family, with friends. That is where influence happens.
Yeah.
And with that conversation, I just want to bring up, I was talking to some teens a couple days ago, and with the agreement loop, it seems as though the younger generation are getting more and more, what do you call it? They just have a wall up. So as soon as you disagree with me, we are enemies.
Yep.
And so
Easily offended.
very easily offended, and it's hard to keep a relationship that way. So, I mean, yeah.
And I think this explains why these studies have come out saying all these Silicon Valley executives have decided to put their kids in tech-free schools because whereas they want us to buy their tech and they want us to be influenced by their tech, they're saying, but for my kids, this isn't healthy. This isn't okay, because they're a little bit ahead of us in terms of this. And they're realizing this is just not a net positive. We're taking away the tech.
Phones aren't evil.
No, yeah.
Technology is not evil. I believe God has created it for us Christians to use it as a positive tool. We just have to become wise on how we use it. And so just having this conversation, starting this conversation, I think is huge.
Yeah.
And so...
What about self-image? We hear a lot about how social media and different media sources are causing a negative self-image for people, causing insecurity. And I can kind of see an argument on both sides for, well, maybe that's because we're too self-focused, or maybe it's because I'm looking at things. We'll talk more about this in a future video, but just a rise in anxiety, a rise in depression caused by this negative self-image that people have of themselves.
And some people might argue like it's good. It can cause competition maybe, and you're like, hey, my life, I need to maybe drive harder to do things better because this person's life is put together on social media. But I think the negative outweighs the positive in this, and especially amongst the younger generation of just not feeling good enough and not feeling like God created them for a purpose or anyway. So I would think the negative definitely outweighs the positive. You could possibly pull some positive out of that comparison, but usually we hear it, comparison is the thief of joy. And so
yeah, I mean there's positives to comparison, but I think comparison often it gives you that grass is greener. Like if my relationship looked like their relationship on social media, I would be happy. Or if I could marry that person, then I will be happy. And you're just looking for that perfect person that doesn't exist. And in reality, if that perfect person was available, they wouldn't want to marry you because you're not perfect.
Yeah, right.
There's just no such thing as a perfect person. And I think Instagram and Facebook and all those posts of you, and you're doing filters and you're showing your highlights, it's just a misconception.
You're comparing the worst of my world to the best of your world.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to win that comparison game.
Yeah, exactly.